Hi everyone, this is Phil from Aragorn, and in this video, we're going to walk through a common integration we support for our customers. We're going to talk about bringing Greenhouse, the ATS, new hire data over into UKG. So an automated workflow when people get hired in Greenhouse, let's move their data over into UKG and automate some downstream processes from there. This one comes up a lot. As we mentioned, if you take a look over here, I'm in the Aragorn platform. And to put a little context around this, let's imagine, I'm responsible for people ops and, people systems at my organization. And again, something that could come up is here I am sitting here on Monday morning, and I get an email that says, hey, we are switching on the talent acquisition side over to Greenhouse. We love it. We're setting up and integrating that platform. And hey, we need you to get that data synchronized with UKG. And you say, okay. And maybe you hop out Greenhouse, you take a look at their API documentation, you look at the API documentation in UKG, you start thinking about planning with your IT team, or you think of consultants that have helped you do integrations in the past, or you have Aragorn. And so you log in, and this is where you run your integrations. And up at the top, all is well. I've got 2 integrations running. Nothing wrong, no errors to look at, but I have this new challenge I need to solve. And so how is Aragorn going to help me quickly set up and manage this integration? So we'll start over here on the side. And the first thing is Aragorn knows how systems work. So we have connections in the platform. So we understand how Greenhouse data is structured and how to go get it. We understand how UKG data is structured and how to go get it. So we have connectors on either side of this solution that are pre-built, baked into the platform. So you don't have to go and figure all that out for yourself. You would start here. You'd say, okay, let's set up a new project. This is going to be bringing the Greenhouse data in so that I can work with it and set up my mapping to UKG. And we'll say create project. And it's not a training video. We won't go through everything in here, but we'll just call this, Greenhouse demo. And what I want you to see here is when I create this project and I open it up, I click on the plus here. And again, here are all these systems that Aragorn already understands. So I'll just search for Greenhouse, and here we are. And all I need to do, there's even instructions of what I'm going to see over in Greenhouse. And I go into that system, create an API key, drop it in here, run the integration, and that's going to bring the Greenhouse data over into Aragorn. And again, not a training video. There's a mapping exercise. So if you have custom fields and other things, however your team sets up Greenhouse, you're going to be able to bring that data in. Great. Now here is where then the magic starts to happen. Once I have that data brought into Aragorn, now all I need to do is create an integration. And again, there are already a bunch of examples and connectors built into the platform. So we're just going to grab UKG. Aragorn already understands what UKG needs in terms of onboarding, right? So we're going to do a new hire sync. We've got Greenhouse sample data that we're going to use. We say create integration. And this is something that I just love about Aragorn. Basically, it resolves the process of building an integration down into a couple major steps. So the first thing you're going to do is you got to figure out who are you sending over to UKG, right? So let's add some eligibility criteria. What this means is who in Greenhouse do you want to include? You don't, for example, need to take every single applicant and push them over into UKG. So we'll just say, hired as our criteria, for example. And maybe it's as simple as saying, we want the hire date to be, within the last 7 days. It's nice to set it up like this, a little bit of a detail here. Aragorn is smart enough to look for new changes to the data, and then you kind of create this window of time so that if something goofy is happening on a particular day between Greenhouse or UKG, it has multiple bites at the apple, so to speak, to get it right. So, you add in your criteria, say, these are the people I need to move over. maybe you have international and, employees in another system, and you add additional criteria to say, you got to be hired with these work locations within the last X amount of days, and so on. It can be as complex as you need it to be. All right. So it's kind of, step one. And then step two, I love this. It's like a kid's menu at a restaurant. You got one side, you got the other side, and then Aragorn just allows you to map from one thing to another. And that can be fairly easy. It can be, do we have, name in Greenhouse? We'll map first name over into first name in UKG. It can be more complex than that as well. So maybe there's start date, and just for the sake of example, let's say for a start date, we don't really have what we want in UKG, so we need to create some logic, right? And then again, in here, you could start to say, you need the start date, hire date, oh, I don't know, +6 or something like that. And again, all I want you to see here is that you're not just stuck with what's in Greenhouse. You can do data transformations. And Aragorn is going to help me set that up really easily, so I don't have to, write any code or anything. I can just say I need the hire date +6 days or something else like that. And you can do these mappings and transformations as well. And honestly, that is pretty much the long and short of it. Beyond that, you'd say how often you need the data to sync. You can run it on a schedule, of course. You can run it on demand when you need to. And then when you come back, it'll show up in your top nav here. You can get alerts if anything ever goes wrong. And you can just come in and get peace of mind that everything is running the way you expect. So again, really simple, high-level overview. But the idea is Aragorn understands the inputs and outputs, bakes that knowledge into the solution so that you can get the data quickly. You can order up your downstream integration, and then everything gets reduced down into this sort of left hand of the screen, right hand of the screen mapping exercise. And surrounding all of that, you've got monitoring and alerting to make sure that you can keep an eye on everything that's working. So you're the HRIS manager, you're the people ops manager or something, you get this new integration challenge that comes your way. This is how Aragorn's going to help you solve that.